So day number two out of WonderCon 2011, as we're calling it, San Francisco WonderCon 2011, and just came out of the 25th anniversary of WonderCon panel. Joe Field is here. He's been on the show before. You guys heard him. So Joe, let me ask you. Talked about it in the panel, but let me ask you, not the exact story, but to you personally, when you were told, "Hey, you want to be a part of what was then the wonderful world of comics," as you were driving home, walking home, what was going through your head? Should I be involved in this? Should I not? What thoughts were going through your head?
Well, at the time that I was invited to come to be a part of the WonderCon organizing committee, I didn't know what to expect really. I just knew that I liked comics, that I liked hanging out with the guys who liked comics, and this was an opportunity for me to do what I do professionally at that point, which was advertising, marketing, and public relations, and then do it in comics. It's like, it was sort of a continuation of the stuff that I was doing for a short while for Stan Lee's wife with her with the PR I did for her first novel. So what I loved though was going to that first meeting and being among a bunch of guys who loved what they were doing, loved comics, and we sat around, and not only did we talk about organizing this convention that has become WonderCon, but we talked comics, and hey, it's geek time, but I love that. You know, it was something that I wasn't getting any other way, and it felt like the glove fit.
And once you got a couple of conventions under your belt, at any point did you stop and say, "What have I gotten into?"
Well, WonderCon quickly became for me like a second full-time job from January until the show in April, and that really took a toll. It's very difficult. I was working 40 to 50 hours a week at my comic book store, and then doing another 30 hours a week working on WonderCon. When you work 80 hours a week, it takes a toll. So that was the only question I had: is can I do it? Can I keep it? Can I sustain that kind of a thing? But we quickly got to the point where the show was viable enough on its own, and so we could kind of spread the duties around a little bit more.
And 25 years ago, I remember also, comics weren't as cool and accepted as they are now. So how easy was it to go around and tell people, "Hey, you want to be part of this convention?"
Well, look, I stood up in front of the Stockton City Council and asked them to draft a resolution asking for Marvel Comics to name Stockton the home of the Fantastic Four. I proved that I was fearless in terms of standing up in public and saying that I love comics. So I was really at home when I came to WonderCon and came into the comics business full time professionally.
And you stayed with WonderCon for 15 years, was it?
Yeah, yeah. The way it worked is the first couple of years I was a freelance member of the organizing committee, which I got paid for doing the advertising and public relations. But there was the way it worked in I think the third year is when we whittled it down to about 5 or 6 of us, and then by the fourth year there were 4 of us, and then Mike and I became the sole owners about year 8, I think. So that was sort of the whole trajectory of the convention, and then we ran it until the 15th through the 15th year, and then that's when we turned over to the Comic-Con International.
And in those 15 years, what are your best memories, good, bad?
Oh well, there are so many good memories. Just meeting people that I'd always revered for their art and for their stories, the pros in the business. One year, we had a Golden Age artist by the name of Fred Gardenier at the convention. And a comics convention in, I don't know if he'd ever been to one actually, and he was quite elderly at that point. Well, Fred Gardenier had work in Action Comics #1. He had artwork in that book. He had artwork, I believe, that was in Detective Comics #27, the first appearance of Batman. he was a guy who was there. Well, he was there before Action Comics #1 and the first appearance of Superman, and he told the story at WonderCon that year of how when Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster brought Superman to national publications, he was the one who answered the door. So this is a guy, Fred Gardenier, who a lot of people don't really know a lot about as a Golden Age artist, although he was a terrific artist. But he was the one who opened the door on the Golden Age of comics, and he was a guest at WonderCon. And it's those kinds of stories that really stick with me over the years.
Yeah, and again, we're celebrating the 25th anniversary, so you haven't been involved the past 10 years directly, at least. Looking back on it now, do you see WonderCon, look on it as a proud parent would? Look what it's become.
Well, I'm not sure that proud parent is the right way to put it, but I do look back and know that we made the right decision to let Comic-Con take the reins and run with it, because we knew that under their guidance and their organization, it could become as large as it has. It's for me, coming to WonderCon is sort of like a touchstone. It's coming back to where it all began for me. Whether it's not at the same location, but so many of the same people are here. So many of the same comic retailers and dealers are here, and I see so many friends that I only see once or twice a year when I come to WonderCon. So, it's always fun and proud to come back.
If y'all want to take a look, literally, at it, tell them about the Facebook page.
Oh yes, we did do some videos back in the day with WonderCon, including a couple of old TV commercials that ran, and a promotional video we did after the 1988 show, and those are up on my YouTube page. Just search Flyco Joe, or just search for WonderCon 1988, and you'll come up with some fun videos. Includes interviews with Stan Lee and Will Eisner and Tom DeFalco and a number of other pros from that era.
And you also have Free Comic Book Day coming up pretty soon, and don't forget to visit Joe at his store, Flying Colors and Comics, and other cool stuff in Concord, California.
Right, Free Comic Book Day is coming up. It's Saturday, May 7th. Not only at Flying Colors Comics, but at close to 2,000 comic book stores in about 36 countries around the world. There are going to be a total of about 2.5 million comics that are going to be available for the giveaway. So bring all of your friends, especially bring your friends who aren't necessarily comic book readers, and bring them into the store, and they can get something for free, and maybe you can turn your friends on to the how cool comics really are, and that's what that's about. Free Comic Book Day is the largest party that we have in the comics world every year. We have somewhere between 300,000 and 500,000 people show up for Free Comic Book Day every year at those stores all over the world. So it does make it the largest comics event, and it's a lot of fun. So 40 publishers are involved with it, and there's something for everybody who loves to read.
Yeah, you mentioned to me before that it's an even bigger event than Comic-Con even.
Right, yeah. Comic-Con's at 150,000 people, and we know from the surveys we've taken of how many people attend each of the stores that it has run between 300,000 and 500,000 people who show up for Free Comic Book Day in total.
This year it'll be the 10th year.
Yes, yeah. Well, and you know what's kind of ironic about the whole thing is that we sold WonderCon in 2001, and then immediately I came up with the idea of Free Comic Book Day. So in 2002, that took over as my next big project. I got that running, and then 3 years later, I was one of the founding members of Comics Pro, which is the comic book retailer trade association, and that's been using a lot of my time for very good purpose, to make the industry better for everybody, really, and especially for comic book specialty retailers. But it seems like every time I let go of one big project, another big project comes down. So I'm kind of wondering when the next shoe is going to drop.
And when it does, we'll be there. So again, Joe Phil, thanks a lot for your time.
I appreciate
Thanks
it.
for
Thank you so
WonderCon.
much for asking. Yeah.
And listen, look out for Joe on the Geek Speak Radio show.